You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of goddamn nerds. Nerds!
Welcome back, everybody, to Nerds Pod. I'm Cole. That's Pete. That's Pooba. Thank you so much for rocking with us. Today, we're going to talk about Daredevil Born Again, episode 2. Pooba, what you thought?
Be a professional.
You're muted.
Be a professional. I apologize. Born Again is now really showing what it really is about, right? It truly is a rebirth for Matt Murdock and for Wilson Fisk. So Wilson Fisk becoming the crime boss, seeing his downfall after Echo, right? The Echo series kind of showed him shooken up, and he was out of the business. We saw that Vanessa kind of took over in that first episode, and we see what his game plan is, his rise, his resurrection, right? Because this is all happening during Lent. So we're seeing his resurrection. We're now seeing the Daredevil being put away after Foggy's death. They're showing us, views of him kind of going back and maybe going back into the church the way he used to, but he doesn't go in there. Overall picturesque, beautiful. This one had a slower start, of course, than the first episode, but the context in it, from the marriage counseling to the relationship of Matt loving again with the psychiatrist. It's the ebb and flow, the introduction of White Tiger. Shout out to Puerto Rico. Amazing to view, amazing to see, amazing to not even get Daredevil in uniform, but still be able to enjoy what the show is truly about. And man, what a ride! I immediately after this ended, I'm dying for episode 3. Dying, like, come on! I'm foggy. I'm foggy on this. Like, I want to see episode 3 already.
Well, if you're foggy, you're dead, and you can't see episode 3.
No, Foggy's gonna come back.
Okay.
Long live Foggy. Long live Foggy. I don't want him in the Nico bucket. So I enjoyed it so much. I watched this till about 1:00 in the morning because I got to it later than I wanted to, and I rewatched it the next morning. The show is amazing. Episode 2, that continuation of Born Again, really defines the show in episode 2.
Awesome, Pete. What's your overall thoughts about episode 2?
The introduction to White Tiger, Camar de los Reyes.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. He passed away in December of 2023. Puerto Rican superhero. The introduction to him in this episode, they paid their respects to him at the beginning of the episode. I initially didn't know anything about White Tiger. I found out about White Tiger, and I believe it was his niece playing him in the animated series, Spider-Man animated series on Disney. I'm sure it's on Disney Plus right now, but it was his niece. It was a female White Tiger, but this was the original White Tiger, and Hector Ayala, and this was the introduction for me. This episode was introduction to him, and Kingpin taking on the role of mayor, but kind of mixing in how he used to do things now as how he's mayor. He's having to deal with some pushback because he's a little bit of art imitating life with, I think one of his the female coworker, the female who works for him says that not everybody likes you, and very similar to what's going on right now. But he got elected, and he's the mayor now, and he's making things happen as the mayor. As you see what happened with that when they were stuck in traffic, he got out and told the guy, "Listen, it's approved, fix this." And then he's getting pushed back, of course. Like I said, everybody's not on his side. The police commission. He said, "Listen, I'm trying to make it seem like I want it to be where your term as mayor is the shortest ever."
Yeah, I love that scene, by the way. One
He
of my
was
favorite scenes of the whole season
that,
of that episode.
that guy didn't give two shits, and he was going at him from jump. And but you'll see how it turns out. But he went back to his, not completely back to his ways, but I guess he had to, show, flex his muscle a little bit on who he is. But to me, this episode was more. But like he said, you didn't see Daredevil in costume, but it's more about White Tiger and Kingpin for me.
Nice. Like my thoughts about episode 2 was just, to start off, to build off that story, right? Now, after all what happened dramatically in episode 1, episode 2 is just going to start building you up. What's pretty cool is that there are much more characters in this show that we've seen in trailers, and us comic book heads would know that we can't wait to see what part they play. And it looks to me like they are just going to take their time with it and make sure that each and every character gets their part. For those that are curious, Hector Ayala, aka White Tiger, is the one right behind me right now, and he is an official Marvel character of Puerto Rican descent. I am Puerto Rican, and I was just as happy to see him as any black person to see Black Panther, or any white person to see Captain America, and so on and so forth, right? I live in the United States of America. We're pretty much a melting pot. We have everything here. But to have an official Marvel character based on Puerto Rican descent made me no more than proud. Of course he's going to be framed from the police. Of course there's going to be potholes where he lives. It just goes back to Stan Lee and the team creating these characters based upon what they saw in life. And let's give this to the Puerto Ricans, where, gosh, we have our superhero. And I can't be more proud. I am a Spider-Man fan through and through. But gosh, oh golly, I'm always rooting for White Tiger. What's dope about this episode is that, like my brothers just said, no Daredevil. So you get to see this side of Matt Murdock while Kingpin is starting to build up as a mayor. Yes, Puba said it himself. It started off slow, and he's absolutely correct. Only because they got to build onto something bigger. I've said this before on this platform. If you give me a great ending with some solid story, great ending, and some good acting, I'm in. So far, so good for me. So, fellas, I want to ask you guys. I did bring up there are other characters. Who are you excited to see next in this series? I'll start with Pete. Let's go with Pete.
Hopefully the return of, like I said in episode 1, of Bullseye. Bullseye is one of my favorites. I kind of gravitate towards those type of characters who are like assassins, who don't really have powers like that. And he's one of them. Now, does he have a skill? He absolutely does, but he's not Superman or Spider-Man or the Hulk or anybody like that. He's just, he's an assassin. So looking forward to seeing more Bullseye. As far as who was in episode 2, White Tiger. It's all about White Tiger.
I'm gonna say that Foggy. Let's bring back some Foggy. No, I'm joking. The knowing that Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, is coming through, and the chaos that comes with Frank Castle, how he's introduced is going to be is it's with the top of my dome when it comes to curiosity. And shout out to Spider-Man Co. He was kind of mentioned in this episode as well. So I don't think we can see him in this because of the Sony and Disney, kind of going always back on it. I don't think they even call him Spider-Man. They have to call him a man in a spider suit. They're allowed to say that, but they're not allowed to say Spider-Man. So as much as I would like to say I want to see a round 2 of Daredevil versus Spider-Man, Frank Castle, the Punisher, is at the top of it. Next to Frank Castle, Muse. I am a horror fan. For anybody that knows me well, horror is my genre to go to. I will watch about 2 to 3 horror movies a week.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, listen, you can't see them when you're blind, so it's okay. But but Muse, because he is a serial killer. He's a person that loves art, and he uses blood and body pieces for his art. And this is Disney, so I'm just curious on how they bring on Muse, who's a Hannibal Lecter type of character without without that. But I think at this point, Disney says, you know what? This is not a product for kids. We've marketed this enough that it's not a product for little kids, that they will go all in on Muse. So I have 2, and it starts off with the Punisher.
That's good takes. Very, very, very good takes. So,
what are you looking forward to? Who's your character that you want to sneak in?
Me, it absolutely has to be Frank Castle. Again, we spoke about this in our last show, how they actually brought back all the characters. But you know what? Frank will be an honorable mention. I know he's in it. I'm super excited. But Luke Cage, aka Power Man, would be the guy I would love to see in this show. Yeah, that would be amazing.
There is an Easter egg for him in the second episode. In this episode, there is a Easter egg for him.
What's the Easter egg?
So when they're in Times Square and it's New Year's, and I love the fact that they actually booed Fisk in the crowd. They booed him. But on the left-hand side, if you watch that scene again, there's a poster for Harlem Paradise.
Oh, nice. That's the club that he ended up taking over in the Luke Cage series.
Yeah, so he's on there. Again, that one scene had a dozen Easter eggs. Had, of course, I Could Do This All Day, the Rogers, the musical. They had, I think, what was the name of that juice from the Hulk? Pingo?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was named Pingo, right?
From the Incredible Hulk movie.
Yeah, Exactly.
Stan Lee ended up having a drink of that.
Yeah. Got your arrested in peace, Stan Lee. Now you and Kamar De Los Reyes can hang out. And then, of course, the big one was Pin Von Dime with the hats to see what they're up to and things of that nature. But yeah, that one scene for Luke Cage would be that would be amazing. That's crazy.
Yeah. That for me, that would definitely be one. Fellas, I'm gonna go with Pete first. So we got a small snippet of how White Tiger looked in his uniform. What are your reactions, and are you excited to see what kind of uniform White Tiger will be portraying, and also his powers with his amulet?
That was again, I didn't know too much about White Tiger until the Disney series, but then of course now finding out more, his amulet is where he gets his powers from, and his costume, just straight white. But that was something that was kind of coming into play as, he's on trial now because he was framed by the cops. But like the previous question, like I said, that's who I'm looking forward to. And the Punisher is a popular character. But I've seen two series of the Punisher, especially when he came into Daredevil season 2. So not that I don't want to see more Punisher, but of course, to me, this, especially because he passed away, and because this is a kind of a new character, I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of him. And I do want to see him in action as well. We've seen Daredevil and Bullseye in the first episode. Like you said, we saw a small snippet of him in
The
video
bodega.
in the bodega. Yeah, he was fighting in the bodega. So yeah, just
Of course he
he's
was.
no longer with us. Yeah, as much as I can't wait to see more of him as much as they can.
I like the si. I still got it. Asa that he did in the bodega. He did that in the bodega. Yeah.
Yo,
Listen,
I mean,
what'd you say,
for
Will?
those in New York, man, or anywhere else, those stores are pretty small. So to beat the crap out of two thugs in
And
the
nothing was knocked
store.
down. I didn't see any of the merch knocked down. He said, "Asa, still got it." Yeah, he did. Listen, it was small. It was quick. It was si. It was real fast. Like you had to. It was the same clip they showed twice, right? One when they were at Josie's, and the second time when Matt showed it to him. I think we're gonna wind up seeing the niece more than him, right? Obviously, because they can't. I'm just curious on how much they recorded with him before his passing. Listen, a Puerto Rican actor playing a Puerto Rican superhero. What that's like Mark Anthony playing Hector Lavoe. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing to see that on camera. I agree with you. It has its moments where it's that power that Black Panther gave us, and now White Tiger. But I love seeing him. The way he slid into the bodega. I was a little upset that he didn't have his thing locked up. Like it was just kind of underneath the bed in a chest, and Cherry found it. And I like that right before that, Matt was having a conversation with Cherry about contemplating about bringing the Daredevil back. But then you have the same thing because when he showed him the video, like Why You Were White Tiger in that show, you see Matt's reflection. So Matt is actually, or I'm myself, I'm talking to myself in the mirror as Matt. But White Tiger, man, listen, the first thing I noticed was the Puerto Rican flag when he noticed when he went into the house. Like I was like, yeah, baby. Yeah, like very proud of that moment, right? And then you know, him and his wife are having some issues and things of that nature. Again, just that realism of what life is like. Nothing is perfect, and sometimes it's even harder for a Puerto Rican living in New York. So it was amazing to see. Again, I want more. I want more. I want one more White Tiger. I can't eat it up alone. Hopefully they do maybe a post series with his niece, but the character seems dope. Again, as a person that knows a little bit of martial arts, he was using judo, jujitsu, a lot of the grappling. If you saw, he wasn't trying to hit him. He was trying to hold him close to him so he wouldn't have to hit him. And he just kind of wanted to stop the bullying that he saw that was happening on the train station. So even his martial arts style I picked up, right? Because again, that's something that I'm into. So he was using this kind of grappling, judo, jujitsu style of fighting. I couldn't have enough of it. Sad to say that they put him in jail right away, and they wouldn't even give him as a decorated officer, someone who served as well. They wouldn't even give him the light of day to post bail. But a lot of realism what happens in New York City and how you're prejudged before you're judged for real by your peers. But man, White Tiger was amazing to see in the 2 seconds we saw in the bodega. I swear that was the one on 138th Street. No, is that 138? No, it'd be the one on Willis Avenue on the corner.
It was
Willis
probably
and Brown
Spanish
Place.
Harlem, but I don't know.
They all look the same.
Because,
They all do look the same.
Yeah, if you're from New York, you can definitely see that.
He said, "Si, chopped cheese."
So, like I was saying, this second episode is actually working on Matt and becoming a lawyer, and I want to ask both of you guys. A lot of our heroes have alter egos, and some go deeper into that undercover alter ego. I'm a Spider-Man fan, so you see a lot of Peter Parker with Spider-Man. Um, are you guys interested in seeing Matt Murdock and not Daredevil in the whole show? And do you think that holds up? I'll go with you, Pooba.
No, I'm all in on Matt. I'm all in on Matt, his love interest, because he's a playboy as well. I enjoy the law side of it. There are moments of this show that feel like tung tung Law and Order. You know what I'm saying?
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, there are a lot of points in the moment show, like when he's asking to take out the fact that he was a vigilante. You know, when behind the scenes in the courtroom, his friend trying to hook him up, them arguing about it, the way he meets White Tiger, the same way he met Karen Page in the office of the police precinct, listening to the heartbeat, listening in on the conversation piece, listen to his heartbeat that he was telling the truth, but he had something else to hide. If we had Matt Murdock's powers, we would probably listen on every single conversation that's bochinche. You know, we love gossip, we love news sometimes. I mean, it's why TMZ exists. None of it is really none of our business, but we're into it when TMZ makes a thing. But I think Matt gives us that. And I'm all in on the law side of it. I'm all in on the Matt Murdock story behind it. I'm all in on the how does he regain his faith. That was something that I took in as a Catholic myself. And yesterday was Ash Wednesday, where you kind of start your Lent process, right? And to see him in front of the church and not go into the church was powerful for me, because he now has to receive communion again because he's been out for a little bit longer, and he probably has to confess before he does that. But the person that he was confessing to is no longer here because Bullseye killed him. And when he was outside the church, and I've struggled with this on my own, right? In the sense of having to go into church on Sundays and having to sometimes go when I need to go. And I struggle with that with myself, and those inner demons, right? Or the devils that in this case for Daredevil, I'm all in. I enjoyed it, the way he investigated and found the guy, and how he was using his skill sets to locate the witness that he needed. I'm all in. I'm good with it. I'm good with the Matt Murdock story. Like, if they don't show Daredevil in the next episode, even though the devil's been brought out, I'm still okay with it if they don't show it to I give it up to the fourth episode. No pa tanto. It's called Daredevil, not Matt Murdock. So I would definitely say that I'm okay with the next two episodes not showing the suit.
Pete, you're a Batman fan, you know, you got Bruce Wayne and then you got Batman. For most of the time, I see more Batman than Bruce Wayne. Would you be interested in watching a Matt Murdock story, and does it hold up?
No. You brought up Law and Order. If I want to see lawyers and figuring out crimes, solving crimes, I'll watch Law and Order. This is Daredevil. I want to see Daredevil. And a lot of people, now that you brought up Batman, a lot of people say, oh, well, if an actor plays him, he has to play Bruce Wayne as well. Don't care about that, because I'm not watching a Bruce Wayne movie. I'm watching a Batman movie. So, yeah, I understand that, that's his alter ego. He has to do, that was a cool episode, that he was doing shit behind the scenes. No problem. But to not have him in the costume for the next one, then what am I watching here? No, let's get him in costume. Let's get him kicking ass, and let's get back to Daredevil. This is what This is what we want to see. This is what we've been waiting 7 years for. Look, episode 2, we got a broken bone already. He broke that dude's arm. Let's go, Daredevil.
That's right. That's right. They actually brought out the devil, like Puba said, and like P said, at the very end of it. And I love the scream that he throws out, because that scream to me, I translate it as, I don't want to do this, but you guys are pushing me to do this.
But I have to. Yep.
And I'm gonna have to. And just like the the beginning of the show when you see the concrete and it's breaking down on the introduction of the show. You're gonna see his whole entire world collapse. I like both sides as long as you have a balance between the two. We got a half and half. We got a lot of Daredevil in the first episode. Got a lot of Matt Murdock here, but I don't mind it as long as it's well balanced. If it's too much leaning on one side or the other, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm gonna agree with Pete on that. I came to see the superhero and not the alter ego. When it comes to Peter Parker, I'm cool when he's at school, but let there something happen so he could turn into Spider-Man and take care of that. You know what I mean? So, gentlemen, as we're starting to see Kingpin rise, not only did he win the election, but now he's losing the people. How close this episode felt to you in the real world that we are today? And what are your thoughts? Puba, I'm gonna go with you, brother.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It hits home a lot. In the sense, I mean, this one was different, right? Because his election wasn't a normal election. It was kind of like a repost election where anybody could get on the ballot at that point in time, which makes sense. That Fisk put his name on there, and for a lot of times we vote because we're just tired of politicians. Um, but I think it does take a politician to politic. Um, and and Fisk is a bully in most cases, the same way he bullied Gallo. Um, but Gallo nailed it when he said he's just a child looking for attention, right? And a lot of the things that I see today in the sense of the political world have a lot to do with this kind of that same scenario where we have some people in power that are used to just having their way, the same way Fisk was. I love that Gallo had said, why take the presidency when you could have more power and more money not having to do this? Um, but the Kingpin has Vanessa, and the same way Vanessa stood away from him, we see that in a husband and wife in a political feud today. So they're very parallel. They're very parallel in that sense of the nature. I think that it takes a real day tone when it comes to how they're showing Fisk getting into power, even though he has a criminal background.
What about you, Pete? Did you see any similarity or resemblance to the real world and what this second episode showed as far as Kingpin and his power to the people and being the mayor of New York City?
I said it earlier. It's very it's art imitating life. But one thing I don't like to do is get political and bring politics into everything. But since we're talking about the show,
Yeah.
very much so, very much so. Just the fact that he, looked like I don't know if you guys remember, he was walking with the psychiatrist, and he overheard the news, and he said he won. Like I think a lot of us probably had that same years ago. We probably had that same reaction as well. Um, but again, you see him go back to his old ways. Not that is what's that's the not that that's the parallel to what's happening in the real world, but he's going back to his old ways of what he used to be. And the commissioner at the cemetery called him Kingpin. So he does have a rep. He has a bad rep, but it didn't stop him from winning. So yeah, very much so, like what we're experiencing right now.
That's kind of why I enjoyed this part of it. As far as Matt being a lawyer, a Puerto Rican getting framed, uh, someone in office not given to what the people are asking for. All this kind of like when I'm watching this episode, I'm looking at it like, holy smokes, like real close to reality. And again, I like the fact that these comic books are not too far away from the reality that we live in. That's why these characters and these stories succeed, because they go parallel to what we go through, at the same time being still having fantasy in it, where you can bend to whichever will you want it to go, whoever's writing that story. So I would also like to ask you guys, so let's talk about Vanessa for a quick second. So Vanessa, for those that don't know, Wilson Fisk ended up falling in love with this woman named Vanessa, and this was in the previous episodes before here. And what happened was they had a divide because the Daredevil took care of the Kingpin, and Kingpin went away. So Vanessa took over the crime and took over the family and took over the, as she says, the business. Um, it was built up for her to want to take over because Wilson Fisk was showing his side, his true side of who he is in the criminal organizations and running the business. Now she comes in and takes over, right? Do you guys believe that Kingpin and Vanessa are working together? Or is there truly a divide between the two, and that's why they went to therapy? Pete, I'll go with you first.
Definitely a divide, again, like, just brought up therapy. You don't go to therapy if there's not really an issue. Like you said, their time being apart from each other, her running the business, quote unquote business, and him being away to recover. Yeah, there's definitely a divide there. And you can see it because in the previous seasons, the first three seasons on Netflix, from him courting her to to her finally, giving in and being with him and marrying him, he was head over heels. He beat the hell out of somebody and took his head off because in their first date, he embarrassed her by showing up to where they were eating and bringing up his business. So he was very much invested in her. I remember a line he said. She brought up something that a man used, a pickup line on her, and she said, "You look disappointed," and he said, "I'm just disappointed I didn't say it."
Mm.
So he was really into her from jump. So, and then to see this now, that to me was a little bit of a curveball. I didn't anticipate seeing that. But again, like I said, them going to therapy, that means, it's serious.
Uber, what's your thoughts about Vanessa herself, Vanessa with Kingpin? Are they actually have a higher agenda and they're trying to play everybody, or is this a true work in progress with their partnership?
I don't think it's fake. What you're seeing in the sense of for both of them, I think you're seeing what's real. The true thing of the matter is that when you're in power and when you have power, um, you don't want to be taken away from you, right? And right now, Vanessa seems like she's in power. She's connected all the mafia bosses together. She has them in a room. Everything is. She seems to be loved more than feared, in the sense of what Fisk when he was running those guys. With and they said it, but not so something. He was absent. He was absent. But you also have to remember at the end of the Daredevil series that came before this one, Will Smith has made him a promise. Said, I'm not going to be doing this business anymore. You never said anything about Vanessa. So he gave the power to Vanessa, disappeared because, he had to step away from the business, try to do his thing where he would try to rekindle what he had with Echo. And then when Echo kind of used her powers on him and had him reflect, and this is why we're getting a different Wilson Fisk. I think he left his boo alone to fend for herself, amongst a bunch of mobsters and killers, and she had to try to figure it all out. How do I make money off of this? I was an art dealer, I was dealing with high-end stuff already, but now I have to deal with other people with high-end stuff and all this other stuff. Now, notice she was wearing white when they introduced her. She was wearing white, and Wilson was wearing gray. So while he's in the gray, right? We don't know if we're getting the Kingpin. We don't know if we're getting Wilson Fisk, the mayor. We know what we're getting out of Vanessa right now. And Vanessa's solid in her what she wants. And I think Wilson Fisk isn't. So when you have that contrast, you're going to have those problems, those marital problems, when the goals are not the same. So I think that, we're all married. So we understand that you have to have a common goal, whether it's with the kids, whether it's the finances, it's the vacations. You have to have a common goal. They're on different pages. So their relationship is on the rocks for real. Their business dealings are on the rocks. Even when he won, it's very much, again, going back to what we've seen, the way love is shown in the political realm. It's being shown here as well. There's I'm in here for the last name. I'm not in here for the long haul. So I think that's what we're seeing between Wilson and Vanessa. I love them together though. Like their love story to me was a beautiful one from
Power
the other
couple,
series.
right?
Yeah, they were a power couple. We're not getting that because we have two different powers now, and they're just trying to figure it all out. He doesn't want to lose his wife. She doesn't know how he feels. And that divide on the couch said it all. That divide on the couch, when she did not sit next to him, it was an obvious tone. You got to read body language sometimes, people. She's not as into him as she used to be because she's into the power that was given to her.
That's interesting. For me, I'm not trying to get hoodwinked. I know they're working together. The only time I felt like it was sincere was when Kingpin said, "I'm here because I don't want to lose my wife." Not for nothing. That hit home. For me, I was like, wow, that's pretty deep. To say something like that, to be brave enough to admit, hey, I don't want to lose this relationship, is pretty big. But I don't trust them. Like Matt don't trust them, neither do I. So I feel they have some hidden agenda working together. Well, everybody, that was another episode of Nerds Podcast. That's Pete, Puba, I'm Cole. Please like, subscribe, comment. Thank you. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Que viva Puerto Rico, Boricua pa que lo sepa. Props to White Tiger. And we'll catch you on the next show, fellas. And ladies, see ya.
We will return.
The worst episode ever.